You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Greetings and welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today we have a little smorgasbord of an episode culled from conversations we recorded at OPTIC 2018. We're going to be speaking with photographers Seth Resnick, Vincent Versace, Brian Smith, and Simon Lewis. And we also have a short chat with Panasonic Lumix marketing manager Darin Pepple about the GH series of cameras. And stay tuned because at the end of the show, we're going to be giving you more information about the B&H Photography Podcast Fujifilm X-H1 sweepstakes. Stay tuned. At this year's OPTIC conference, hosted by B&H, we had the opportunity to speak with so many incredible photographers. And while we dug into some serious issues, we also like to ask questions that might elicit funny and/or insightful stories. In this case, we wanted to hear about situations in which the photographer was facing a potential fail. The subject or the weather wasn't cooperating, the equipment broke, or some combination of disasters, and how they ultimately pulled the rabbit out of the hat and got the picture. First, we're going to be speaking with Brian Smith. Brian is a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer with an editorial and advertising catalog full of Hollywood A-listers and Fortune 500ers. He's a Sony artisan of imagery, a pro photo legend of light, and an Adobe influencer and X-Rite master colorati. You have been in a lot of different situations, some of them really high pressure because you deal with high-end clients and high-end people, where people don't have the time to sit there long. They'll in and out. You got to set everything up, and they literally walk through the set. You got to grab a picture sometimes. What is the biggest rabbit you ever pulled out of a hat? And when I say that, I'm saying you're there, you're on the job, you have a sliver of time to get it done, you've got all kinds of parameters, and something happened that was not anticipated, either equipment or environment or something, and you said, oh my God, I got a problem here, and you managed to pull it off. Anything come to mind?
Well, I'll take that from the very start. One of the things that's really important is, when you have limited time, and a number of the people that I photograph, I may have, if I have an hour with somebody, it's that's like hallelujah.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's a lot.
It's like, let's just take a breath because we have so much time to work. More often, it's half an hour, 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Some of the people that I photograph for CEOs where I've literally been told, you'll have 3 minutes. So you just make sure everything is all set.
Been there, done that one, yeah.
You've scouted in advance, you know what you want to do.
Tested like crazy. And
it helps when you've done enough of these to realize okay, so we're not going to do the definitive portrait in 3 minutes, but we're going to do the best portrait that could be taken in these 3 minutes. So you get things together, and sometimes when people are at ease, it's amazing how often that 3 minutes becomes 5 minutes or 10 minutes. On the other hand, like if you're wasting somebody's time, a 30-minute photo shoot can easily be cut short in 15 minutes if they feel like you're, not prepared. So you want everything together. And even though I'm doing lighting, it's like all that stuff is in the back of my mind. I'm really not thinking about it. I may push a light stand a little ways once the subject gets in position, because if we pre-lit with an assistant or something, it may not look exactly like it does with the subject, but really small tweaks, like the sort of things it's like I'll reach out and grab a light stand with, most of the time not even thinking about it, just to reposition something slightly. So you get everything ready. So everything is set and ready to go. That said, there are still the times that, somebody's expectation was that you're going to do a few shots and I'm out of here. And I guess the one that does come to mind is about 5 years ago, I was working on a project called Art and Soul. It was a book to support arts education where we photographed I actually photographed 250 celebrities. We had room for 123 in the final book. I think that's
where we first crossed paths. You had just finished that project. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And so as the course of this project, and the great thing is, like, as you photograph some people, you can show the next subject's what you've done, and give them an idea, so they have a sense of, okay, I see what he's doing. Either I like it or I don't, but like if they like it, then they're cooperative. And one of the very first people that I photographed in the first 3 days was David Hyde Pierce. And David was just amazing. He's got this face that looks like a bust in a museum, that it's like you walk around and from all directions, it's just this great head. He doesn't have to do anything. He just has this great look. And about 6 months later, a friend of mine was doing a interview for the Broadway channel and asked if I would be, they had Kelsey Grammer lined up. And he's like, would Kelsey be good for your book? And I said, oh, absolutely. In a heartbeat. So there was no ask in advance. They didn't want to jinx their interview. And he warned me, it's like, I can't ask you in advance, but he seems like a nice guy. I think he'll do it. So I had my wife with me. She was doing the grooming for the project. So she got Kelsey ready. He did his Broadway channel interview. And then when he was done, my buddy Matt said, I want you to meet a friend of mine. He's working on a project that you'll be interested in. At this point, I could show him on my iPad. I'm flipping through some of the images. And of course, you stack the deck. So the third celebrity comes to is David Hyde Pierce. And he's, oh, David, yeah, okay, all right, I'll do your thing. And he was super cooperative, very happy to do it, stood in there, shot 9 pictures, and he goes, well, I think you've got it, and started to walk away. And, I really didn't. I had 9 pictures that kind of looked like Kelsey Grammer maybe on a red carpet, but I didn't have a photograph.
Gotcha.
So now I can be nice and go, well, thank you very much for your time. But I can be the nice guy who doesn't get the picture, or I can become the jerk photographer who finds a way to make it happen. And in this instance, I just couldn't have Kelsey Grammer in place and not come away with a decent photograph. So I don't know where this came from, but before he could take a step, I said, yes, I suppose we do have an image, but to be honest, David Hyde Pierce was much better. And right at that moment, he sort of sheepishly stepped back into place, dropped his shoulders, and looked like he's just been shamed into submission. And it was by far like one of my favorite pictures from the whole project of just using peer pressure as a weapon for good. Because it was like, that may not have been the right thing to take that approach with anyone else on this planet. But I just had a sense with Kelsey, that was the way to go. And sure enough, it was. So part of what you learn when you're going out and photographing people on the street is just learning to read people really quickly. Now with Kelsey, we got a body of work. We know something about him. We know, because of who he is, kind of know you can take the kid gloves off and have some fun with him.
Yeah, he's been knocked down before.
Yeah. So I had a sense of that, but it's sort of that reading, what is the right way to do it? And it certainly wasn't, oh, please, Mr. Grammer, if you could do a few more pictures, I like that. It's like you kind of had to take the radical approach, and it worked.
And you took control, because if you did come up, then we try to do a little more. He's still running the show, and the attitude could show. But in the meantime, you reversed it. You flipped on. Brian, if people want to catch up on what your work and see what you've been doing, where should they go to look at your photographs?
My website's briansmith.com. I post most of the latest news on my blog on the website, and then on social media, Brian Smith Pictures on Facebook and Brian Smith Photo on Twitter and Instagram.
It's great stuff to look at. Okay, Simon Lewis is an Australian-born lifestyle destination food and interior photographer based in Brooklyn, New York. A graduate of the School of Visual Arts here in New York City, his clients include the Amman Resorts, Amazon, JetBlue, Ralph Lauren, Bon Appetit, Prada, and John Varvatos. Here's Simon. You travel around a lot, you get some pretty big assignments, and you have some pretty big responsibilities. And I've been asking this to a few photographers, what would be the biggest rabbit you've pulled out of a hat? In other words, you got everything is set and planned, everything else, and then something happens, you go, uh-oh, gear, environment, subject, something, and I have to come out of here with a good photograph.
It happens all the time. Still happens. I mean, it happens all the time. The only reason
Maybe I should rephrase it. Does it ever not happen to you?
No. The only reason I know anything is because of all those mistakes that I made along the way.
Yeah, okay.
100%. 100%. Because you do something wrong one time. Mm-hmm. And you learn from that, right? Or you're prepared. So in case anything like that happens again, you've got a backup. But things happen all the time. I was shooting for the Amman Resort in Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. We had scouted the place. There was a beautiful vista from up. We had to put a ladder up on top of the roof. Stand on top of the roof. It was multi-leveled. And there was a view over the resort, across the bay, the ocean, trees wrapping around, and that's where the sun was coming up. Beautiful. All set up. Ready to go. Got up early. Had my assistant, myself, and camera on the tripod. We get up on the roof, and as we're getting ready, a tropical storm comes out of nowhere. It is raining horizontally, right? And we're trying to navigate on this thing. You know, I slip and fall. I bust my ankle. I had to get my assistant to carry me like a Sherpa up Everest across this wall. Plonked down on the edge of the roof, had a plastic bag over luckily I was prepared with that, had a plastic bag over the camera and the tripod. Sure enough, the storm passed. The most beautiful sunrise you have ever seen. I mean, the most beautiful sunrise. Got the shot and went to hospital. We got my ankle wrapped up. And they were like, get off the roof. I'm like, no, you don't. This photo is happening. We are getting that. And it ended up being one of the main icon shots for that project. You know, if I was like, oh, my ankle's 3 times the size, I should probably just like get down. We wouldn't have got the shot. You know?
Amputate. I need the picture. I don't care. Just amputate.
No, I was like, I don't care what you do. Wrap up, whatever. Just, I need this photo.
Right.
So we sat there through this tropical storm. Got it cleared. The colors in the sky were amazing. And we got the shot. But, you know, I have no control over that.
No.
But I can choose whether to stick through it.
Good point.
You know.
Good point.
Sometimes a little bit of tenacity you need to get the shot.
Simon, if people would like to see more of your work, where can they go to see it?
You can follow me on Instagram at Simon Lewis Photo, Lewis Photo, or www.simonlewisphoto.com.
Sounds like a plan. And you will be in for some visual treats, I can guarantee you. Starting as a newspaper photographer in Syracuse and New York City, Seth Resnick is considered a photographer's photographer with work spanning the fine art, editorial, stock, and commercial worlds. He has had his work published in over 2,500 publications and is one of 50 master photographers worldwide, first named as a Canon Explorer of Light. He's a member of the prestigious X-Rite Colorati program and the Ilford Masters program. He's also the co-founder of D65, a digital workflow educational and consulting organization. Here's Seth. You go to a lot of places that are far from every resource around there. In other words, you have to have what you need with you.
Yes.
And that's the limitations of what you got right there.
And weight limits.
And all that stuff. What was the biggest rabbit you ever pulled out of a hat where you got someplace and you say, this is impossible and I have to make this work? What would you say was the one, not that you took the greatest picture, but you said, I walked away and I pulled a shot out of this and this was impossible?
One was a physical issue, and I was in Antarctica, and I'm in a Zodiac, and you have the cameras around your neck. And as I look down, I have my Nikon D5. I always forget the names because they all D5. I think it's a D5.
Yeah.
And I look down, the camera's hanging around my neck, and where's the camera? Camera's in the water over the side of the boat. And it's like there's no Nikon, no NPS down there. So I looked at it, and it's like, big challenge. So I went back to the room, figured saltwater's death, but like.
The first thing you do is stick it in fresh water.
Put it right. I put it
water.
right in the sink. Mm-hmm. Went to their kitchen and got some rice. Put it in a bag. Kept my fingers crossed. And that afternoon, the camera came back and was working. And yeah, so you talk. I mean, because you look at you can't believe how stupid you are. That there I am. It's like, oh wow, and that's your camera. I mean.
You just made a lot of photographers out there feel good about
Now,
themselves.
I would not recommend taking Nikons or Canons or anything and putting them in the water. But
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. You're in the field, and
There you go. But you made it work. And that's
but I made it
good.
work, and ended up with a really nice image out of it.
Cool.
Okay, Seth Resnick, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you guys.
today.
This was a ton of fun. And
Is there anything else you want to toss to our listeners?
Oh, yeah. What's coming up? Anything good?
Websites, workshops coming up?
Yeah,
things like that?
if you're interested in our workshops, I teach a Lightroom workshop, which is under the name of G65, and we do our travel workshops, and they're workshops, not photo tours, and that's digital photo destinations, and you can find everything at SethResnick.com. And thank you very much. This is a lot of fun.
Seth, pleasure talking with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Vincent Versace is one of Nikon's 16 founding Nikon ambassadors and is a recipient of the Computer World Smithsonian Award in Media Arts and Entertainment, as well as the Schellenberg Fine Art Award. His list of photography awards and publications is long, and he's authored From Oz to Kansas, almost every black and white technique known to mankind. And Welcome to Oz 2.0, a cinematic approach to digital still photography with Photoshop. He's based in Los Angeles, and he divides his time between commercial and fine art photography assignments. Here's Vincent.
There's the word amateur is Latin. Amatore means to do for the love of.
Sure.
And when I was a kid, I had this book called Daffinations. And like a daffination is bacteria, rear of a cafeteria. Big a mist, a large Italian fog. Right. So when my father passed away, I found the book. And it was a library book.
I'm sure there's a definition for stolen library book in there.
There's a statute of limitations. And so I'm looking through this, and my favorite definition was the definition of expert. X, the grammatical term for has been. Spurt, a drip under pressure. Okay, so
That's great.
you have expert or amateur. Of these two, what would I rather be? I want to be an amateur. I want to be in a state of amateur. I want to do it for the love of it. Because think about all of the experts There has been drips under pressure pontificating about something. And it's like, I separate the world into Leicas and Frommas. You can learn how to shoot like a pro, or you can learn how to shoot from a pro. Okay, and I'd rather be in the Fromma and not Leica category. So I really work very hard to be a working professional, because one of the things I went to ACT, the American Conservatory Theater, and they have this concept called share the refulgence, which is working actors teach actors how to work. Okay, so all of the instructors that we got were people that were in the field, and so we got a lot of cool stuff about how to do things. And I want to share the refulgence. I lead such a blessed life. It's truly not lost on me, the great gig I have and the places I get to go because the camera allows me to do that. Okay, well, all of these lessons and discoveries and things that I have the opportunity to do because the course of my human events allows me to do this, how do I make people who I come in contact with, their life easier? So, 6-7 times a year I like to teach classes because I think it's important to share the refulgence. And one of the things that I love about teaching a class is when you start making a living as a photographer, you don't necessarily pull out of your entire tool set because you use the things that work.
Right.
But when I teach a class, I get asked questions. Oh, I haven't thought of that in years. And that leads to, wow, that's really cool. Let's solve this problem. And then that winds up inhabiting my work. Like I shoot landscapes and I shoot people. And the reason why I always make it a point to do both is I believe you should shoot your portraits like landscapes and your landscapes like portraits. That they have to cross-pollinate. That you can't just be this one thing because you get into a groove, the groove becomes a rut, the rut becomes a hole, the hole becomes a grave, and then you're wondering why nobody hires you and you're bitter. And I don't want to be that. I want to be an 18-year-old spirit looking for the zipper in the old guy fat man suit, going, I know I'm in here someplace.
What's coming up? What do you want to plug? I know you have 3 book projects in the works in different stages, I'm sure. But
well, the book concept project quickly is called Turning the Last Page, : And so it's Cuba turning the last page of 1962, Burma turning the last page of the 19th century, and India's turning the last page of the British Raj. And the goal of those 3 projects that I'm working on is one is to build a school in Burma, because there's a place in Burma where there is no school and the kids are illiterate, and it's like, And then feeding hungry kids in India. If I can do that, yeah. And then putting cameras in the hands of photographers in Cuba that would never see the technology that I take for granted. And the project basically is to capture the echo of the countries as they're emerging into the 21st century and to preserve the innocence of what is the essence of these people. It's based on the thought that the pen is mightier than the sword. Really? Camera's mightier than the pen. Watch what I can do. And I want to do good with those pictures. And even though I may own the rights to them, I don't think I have the moral right to possess them. And this needs to be preserved, and we need to look at it. And we need to have that so that what we have is a mirror to say, this is a quality we should keep alive, not necessarily the directions that we tend to go. And that's what I want to do with the pictures. And I'm happy to not make a dime off them. I'm happy to literally put all the money out for
And
it.
is the idea, or I don't know how far along you are in the process, but the sales of the books goes toward these funds? That's the idea? Okay.
Is that it's like, here you go, set it up, do all the work. And of course, it's in the category of no good deed goes unpunished. But I mean, the Cuba book is at 330 images. The Burma book is about that. And then the India book is the one that's the weakest, because India is I believe it or not, of those three countries, the two that are the most supposedly hardest to get into, are the easiest to get into. And India is the hardest one to get back to.
Interesting.
It just
But the books they're not for sale yet. They're not
no.
available
I'm
yet.
shooting them.
Yeah.
It's this again. The same way I came up with doing the emotional stuff is a series of conversations with people that all of a sudden it's like, this is what we're going to do, and I'm right at the point now where two of them could go image wise and would have enough, and now it's looking for a publisher and starting to do the book layout and stuff. But that's really what the goal is of the project.
Vincent Versace, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was a blast.
After a short break, we're going to be returning with Darin Pepple of Panasonic Lumix to talk about their GH series of cameras. Stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. Send us a tweet at BH Photo Video, hashtag BH Photo Podcast.
We are being joined by Darin Pepple of Panasonic, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the Lumix technologies. Now, you guys recently had some software or firmware updates for your cameras. Give us a little bit of background on that. Like, you obviously come up with a camera system and you put everything you have into it, and then ultimately upgrades have to happen and updates and things of that sort. How do you find out about it? Or do you canvas your users? Is this feedback you're getting without even asking for it? And how do you go about processing all of this?
It's a pretty interesting process, actually. We do a lot of listening, social listening especially.
Okay.
Whenever we make a post, I'll be honest with you, the first couple responses to any of our social posts are, when is this coming out? When can you make this change? There's a whole list from the fans. And we listen to our service department calls. We get a lot of people calling in for either repair-related items or functionality usage. And then we also spend a lot of time at events like this, where we're listening to professional photographers, enthusiasts. We're really interested in what the pros want. That has been, since the days of the GH3. We really developed the GH3 after we found that a lot of people were hacking the GH2. And we did it, believe it or not, engineers did everything they could to stop that. And when we found out that the sales would just die every time we would update the firmware in the factory, so the new camera would ship out to prevent hacking, sales would drop. So we looked very closely at this and said, well, there's something here we don't understand, or the market's telling us something. What is it? And what we found out was the market wanted to be constantly in change and updating and changing, and kind of wanted to basically use our hardware, which was at the time different because of the mirrorless technology that we designed. And we just said, okay, let's canvas the country for a little while. We invited cinematographers and photographers into the same room. You can imagine the conversation that ensued, right? And they were basically at opposite ends of the table, sort of arguing over features, speaking a different language each, but saying the same thing. And so we very quickly learned that we could build something that they wanted to please both sides of the table. And it was out of that kind of initial development of the GH3 where we've kind of come of age as a brand. And so we do a lot of listening to our fan base, either, like I say, social service, or we follow a lot of blogs, and the fans are telling us what they want. And it was a bit of a cultural change for us to say, okay, it's basically a computer with a lens on it. What can we do to that? And shouldn't we just update instead of inventing a whole new camera?
I would imagine that the hackers, in a sense, are a no-cost freelance R&D department, in a sense, because if you're really paying attention to what people are hacking your gear to do, that's a good indication where you have to be, and they're kind of doing the groundwork for you. Go, hey, here's what they did. How could we smooth this out and polish it?
That's exactly it. And really, like I say, it became a kind of a cultural change. You can imagine, as a Japanese company, we're very buttoned up. We have a very definite direction we want to move, and so to open up R&D to the fans was not an easy task internally. I'll tell you, I was on the end of that, selling that in the early days, and it was not easy. And now it's kind of taken for granted everybody does it, right? So I think we were blazing a new trail at the time. We didn't really realize it at the time, but we were starting to kind of tap into something unique and special. And so ever since then, we have kind of evolved as a brand that really listens. We try to be as responsive as we possibly can. And I don't think you've seen a camera of ours hacked in a long time, which kind of indicates that we're ahead of the curve and we're listening to the fans, and they're willing to kind of wait for the next firmware update for their camera. Now, we don't go probably more than 3 firmware updates per model, because by that time we start hitting the wall of what the technology was designed to, and we add a little bit of our own flavor. We got something up our sleeve, and that's when the new camera will come out, and then we'll stop usually firmware updating cameras at that point, unless it's a bug fix. We will sometimes launch a firmware update, and then another bug will pop up. It's a very complex thing, and we try as hard as we can to try and update, if possible, that bug fix as fast as possible.
Do you guys have any data on who actually does firmware updates and how many buyers of a GH4, whatever, whatever model came out and really takes the time and the energy to go through that process?
I would suggest that it's not a super high amount. Generally what will happen is somebody will call the service department and say, I'm having a problem with adjusting a feature, it's not working right. It's kind of at that point they learn about it. We, of course, all the social platforms and the blogs and the magazines sort of follow when we do something. So it usually does get to the market pretty fast. I would say even faster than we can actually put it into our own website sometimes. So it is not a real hard number for me to kind of nail into.
No.
But it is to the fan base that really is generating our sales and helping us grow the brand. It is really meaningful to them that we do that.
And it's funny because, and this gets back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. It seems like, especially with the mirrorless cameras, the different brands have taken on different personalities, or at least the users. And I associate the Panasonics, with the hacking doesn't surprise me at all, because you came up, there's a lot of the skateboarders, and the surfers and some of the X-type people. Is that something you were forced to embrace, or you were happy to embrace because it made the mark for that camera?
Yeah, no? If you look at the industry, you have the traditional DSLR brands, and even to some extent Fujifilm for that matter, or Olympus, and they have a following for many, many, many years. You look at Lumix, and we've been around for 15 years now.
Right.
But only 10 years of that has been with the mirrorless technology. Yeah. So we helped create that consortium with Olympus, and we launched it, and we created a whole new type of camera. because we just basically went to our roots. And our roots was not a camera company. Our roots is a technology company. And so when we built the first Lumix mirrorless cameras, it was really, we were quite proud of it. I mean, it didn't have a mirror box. It had a lens. Because of the mirror box, you could shorten the distance between the
Everything comes down in
flange,
size and weight.
Yeah, it just shrinks. And you could do video without a mirror lockup. And you could do all these interesting things. You could run what you see is what you get right to the viewfinder. So no optical viewfinder. So for the traditionalists in the room, this was like heresy. It was like, why did you remove the optical viewfinder? Mm-hmm. Who wants to shoot video anyway? All these things were kind of like struck us as a bit odd, really, because we were looking and going, well, isn't this cool? This is great, right? And the market wasn't ready for it, frankly. So it took us a while to find our feet. And like I say, once we stumbled upon the ability to just, I guess, accept who we are as a company. We tried so hard to be a camera company, right?
Sometimes you have to just let go and relax.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that was it. That really was
exhale.
it.
Get back,
Yeah, just let go. Hey, we are really good at video. Why don't we create a camera that's just the best damn camera, that interchangeable lens camera that can shoot video on the planet?
So that was gonna be my next question, because essentially you came out, your goal was to come out with a good still camera that shot video, but if anything, your reputation is among video shooters predominantly.
Yes.
Is headquarters having trouble wrapping their head around what they are as opposed to what they think they are or want to be?
Yeah, I think sometimes. Europe is more. When I speak to my European counterparts, they're so much more into the photo side of it. The United States was the one that really kind of accepted the what we thought we were and pushed for it. We actually, a friend of mine, Tom Curley, he works at a company now at the time, and I said, hey, we have to invent a new market. We have to invent products that you can do with these cameras, or the market won't understand why it exists, right? So we worked with a lot of photo consortiums, and we created this concept of hybrid photography. We worked with a lot of people. And the reason we chose hybrid was because it was a blend of video and still. And we thought, well, if the market could accept this idea of hybrid photography, and there are much brighter brains out there that can come up with what products go with that, such as moving pictures for your cell phone, better video that you can sell to, like in a studio environment while you've got the client there, family photos going on. Why don't you take a little bit of video of what happened in their life that week or that year, who died, who was born. And it was that moment that we felt we had something. And I walked into a trade show one day, like about 2 years later, actually, and I saw somebody on one of the major camera brands stand up on stage. I want to show you my hybrid photography portfolio. And I burst out laughing. I'm like, oh my God, we did it. And we did something. They don't even realize it. And so we just embraced this idea of a joint hybrid world. And the idea from the domain, from what we call headquarters, is that we are changing the culture of photography. A new culture is being born. And out of that, the Europeans came up with changing photography as a way of marketing the idea. In the United States, we adopted that, and this culture of change within photography, and a new culture, was really kind of where we landed off on. Mm-hmm. The downside of that is the traditionalists don't want to change photography. They don't. Mm-hmm. It wasn't change that they were interested in. It was a better camera, and so the traditionalists stuck with their traditional DSLRs. And I think what you said, like you said earlier, it was these younger, more, I don't know, new forward-thinking photographers, videographers, hybrid shooters, whatever they're going to be called now, that really just embraced our brand. And they held us to the fire when there was something wrong, and they told us what they wanted. And we thought, well, how are we going to meet this very the demands of this market? Mm-hmm. And we said, well, in engineering-wise, we needed to really kind of pull in more and more horsepower from other parts of the company that weren't in the R&D department for Lumix at the time, and we did that. And they just went to town. Mm-hmm. They were when I spec'd threw in my specifications for GH4. and they came back with the prototype, I was absolutely floored. Absolutely floored. I'm like, you were able to do this? I was really hoping for a couple other things, but you put in some things that I hadn't even thought of before. And it really came from that listening. They were all over the world listening to each country's input. And it really came down to what was being said in blogs, and it wasn't as much social media at the time. And we put all that into a box. Believe it or not, GH4 wasn't everything we wanted it to be. There was more we wanted in it. And that's where the 5 came out. And when the 5 came out, I think everybody just stepped back and said, wow, that's really cool. Never thought of that. 4K video in a camera. The idea that suddenly people in Hollywood were knocking on our door going, well, we really need a couple of these. Could you send them to test? Yeah. There was a friend of mine who was shooting for one of the big TV shows, and he was secretly shooting with it because it was doing better than his $50,000 cameras, and he was doing a lot of run and gun, and he was doing some hot box shooting in Miami, and the cameras were burning up waiting for them in the Miami heat, and our camera was designed to handle that kind of heat. It was designed to handle video heat, and so they survived longer, and it just all of a sudden these things start flooding in. And the photographers loved it because it was a lighter weight platform. They could do their hybrid work. The traditionalists, again, they were like, well, yeah, but it's got a micro four thirds sensor, and it's got to be full frame. And we're like, you miss the point of what it can do. A lighter lens system. Yeah, the GH5 is bigger than maybe we'd want it to be, but that was designed for heat dissipation. But the lenses are still super, super small and super lightweight. And our Leica DG lenses are rock solid in terms of just sharpness. A lot of people get blown away. I want to
jump. Well, we'll talk about the firmware updates that you have on hand now. But one thing I wanted to ask about was the point and shoot area, because obviously Lumix point and shoot cameras were kind of at the forefront of the real compact, high quality image point and shoot cameras. And now with that whole market dissolving to some degree, what did you guys decide to do, and how did you limit what you were going to put out and still make a profit off it?
We did basically the same thing that most of the companies did, and we went upstream. Yeah. So we kind of backed out of the entry-level market. The LX line for us has always been sort of a cult classic.
That's a lovely camera.
Yeah.
I've shot with several of them. It really is a beautiful little camera.
Yeah. It is. And that's another one. Whenever we made a change to the LX, again, they would hold our feet to the fire on it. Wanted a little more here, edge detail, all these kinds of things. Those aren't really, our point and shoots aren't really designed to do the big firmware updates that our G series cameras do. So for those cameras, we get a lot of fans and those cameras can last 2 years, sometimes even push 3. And so the fans are like, when you coming out with the next LX or ZS, and so it's a little more frustrating for those fans. But
those cameras last. I have a friend who's still shooting one from way back when. Yeah. Anyway.
I've seen some that they show up to shows and they bring their LX and they'll hand it over to me and show it to me, and I'm like, wow, what did you do to this thing? I said, I'm waiting for you to introduce a new one.
I have a question about, we're talking about the LX series. It's no big secret that Panasonic is partners with Leica for a lot of the point and shoots. If you buy a lot of the point and shoot cameras from Leica, it's a rebadged Panasonic with other changes. Okay, how much influence does Leica actually have? Aside from I know physically the shell is different; it's got a different outside the skin, but internally it's quite similar. How much influence do they have when you're coming up with the next camera and they're going to partner?
Well, for us, our relationship with Leica is really an optical one. Okay. So when they build their cameras, now it's got their special sauce in it. But our cameras, for us, we have a factory in Yamagata, Japan. And a lot of people, I'll see it on social media all the time. Oh, it's just got their name on it.
No, it's more. It is more than that.
Yeah, it really is. I wish I could take everybody to that factory. It's an amazing factory. But the optics that are produced there are sort of watched over by the Leica organization. They come in and make sure all the hardware is calibrated correctly, that the production is being done correctly, and to be able to do that under their watchful eye. Takes a lot. And yes, they are made in Japan. Those lenses, I've seen them coming off the assembly line, and it's an amazing process.
Well, keep in mind that a majority of Zeiss optics are made by Cosina.
Yeah.
And they are magnificent lenses. And everyone says, oh, it's not from China. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, it really doesn't matter because it's being supervised. It's under a lot of, this stuff is good.
There are things that we've requested, when we take a look at, the future lenses that we're building, and we'll say, we would like to have a Leica lens that does X, Y, Z, right? And the factory will come back, okay, we'll look. And say, no, that one won't fly. There's certain things that Leica is willing to do to their glass, and this is not one of them. So when we produce a Leica lens, there's a lot of oversight that goes into that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, updates, firmware, what's new? What do you want to tell us about? Well, I mean, you are
the secret sauce.
Well, no, but what? I mean, obviously, part of the reason that you're here is to tell us what's latest from you guys and what you want to push.
One thing that I'd like to clear up for all the fans is that when we launched the 9. There was less video technology in the 9, and that was purposeful. Mm-hmm. And when we launched the 5S, there was a lot less photo technology in that one, and that was purposeful. What we are doing when we produced the GH5, we really kind of we topped out. I mean, that was one hell of a camera. And so the listening told us that the cinematographers are now sort of demanding very interesting features that would compromise the photo quality. And same thing on the photo side would compromise the video quality. So we built 5S and we built 9 for photographers and 5S for cinematographers, straight up. Now there are some low light photographers that and studio photographers that enjoy the 5S because it's just really good low light capability, really clean. Whereas, it doesn't have IBIS, it doesn't have any in-body stabilization, and that's purposeful. Reduces the heat, and frankly, cinematographers don't use, for the most part, in-body camera stabilization. If they do, they drop down to the 5. Mm-hmm. And the photographers wanted better stabilization. They wanted more resolution. They wanted all these external features on the camera that they could very quickly see, like an LCD that gives them the status of the camera. So what you see us doing right now is really engaging in this almost diversification. So we've gone from hybrid now to kind of almost that traditional role again, but we will always have a hybrid line.
Well, in a sense, it's not much different from what Sony is doing with their A7s. They have their still camera, they got their video, low light stuff, and it kind of makes more sense because it is better to do that, I think, rather than try to come out with a camera that's going to make everybody happy but never be 100% satisfactory in either way. Here, you're a video guy, this is your camera. You're a still person, this is your camera.
Yeah.
And you'll end up happier with the product that you have because you're not compromising.
Correct. That's exactly it.
That's how it works.
Yeah. And so the 3 cameras that we have, the 5, the 5S, and the 9, we're really proud of those cameras. And I think that's kind of the direction you'll see us go now is to take that. What can we do with a 9 and a 5S? A 5S, frankly, it's pretty much all there in terms of there's very few things that people ask for. Yes, there will be firmware updates. Yes, there are hardware limitations that things that we won't be able to do unless we change out the hardware. And when it comes to that, it's time to build a new camera. But the 9 is the one that we think we have finally hit on a formula for this new generation of photographers, the ones you mentioned earlier, that they really love us for it. And we just want to continually build out that market because they're the photographers of tomorrow, and they're the generation that we seek out and that we've really embraced and are truly growing with us. What we learn from these guys and girls, that's what we're going to build. And we're not going to look back. We're only going to look forward.
It's kind of interesting in the marketing cycles of things, and you guys both hinted at this, where at a certain point you want to separate and make a camera for this person and a camera for this person, and then you want to cycle back to make that hybrid that's good for everybody. And then you maybe want to go back again, and this is the kind of balance you have to have.
I think technology is going to determine it because you might have some advances that you can't have in a camera that does everything. So it is going to be a little bit of an ebb and flow. And I think, and it's important to mention, I think for all the Micro Four Thirds, is that today there's a great selection of lenses specifically designed for Micro Four Thirds. Obviously, one of the beauties of mirrorless is that you could adapt just about anything made onto these. However, there are some very specific lenses made by your company that are really nice to use. We do a lot of our own testing. Sorry from the podcast, we review equipment and had a number of Panasonic lenses, and they're nice lenses. They're good. They're built well, and they're sharp.
Yeah, we're really proud of those, and that's a whole nother world of development that we're constantly trying to do is balance the photo and the video side of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm good. Anything else?
Anything you want to throw in there?
Darren?
No, that's it. Just keep the cards and letters coming.
Cool.
Okay, Darin Pepple, thank you so much joining us from Panasonic and Lumix cameras.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, so next week, we're going to be attending the Podcast Movement Conference in Philadelphia, a wonderful gathering of podcast producers and personalities, and we're going to be presenting an encore episode, but we will also be kicking off our B&H Photography Podcast Fujifilm X-H1 sweepstakes. Somebody out there is going to be winning a Fujifilm X-H1 camera with a Fujinon XF35mm f2 RWR lens. And another lucky listener is going to be the proud owner of a Fujifilm X-E3 camera with a Fujinon XF23mm f2 RWR lens. So be sure to tune in next week. We're going to be announcing the entry rules to officially enter our latest camera and lens sweepstakes. Until then, for Jason, John, and myself, thank you so much for joining us today.